All right, today we are going to talk about writing algebraic expressions. And there are a couple elements about algebraic expressions that you need to know. And what you're going to do is you're going to learn how to identify some keywords that can tell you how to do certain operations in math that have to do with algebra, whether it's in like a word problem and things like that, that'll help make those word problems a little easier. And then we're also going to talk about something called a variable and discuss what a variable is and show you some examples of what variables are, because variables are all over the place in algebra, and you'll be dealing with those from now until you are done with your education, which means the rest of your life. Okay? So let's talk a little bit first about what a variable is. Now, a variable is something that's unknown. So a variable equals unknown. Okay? It's something we don't know, and we're trying to figure it out. So what we need to do is we need to give those kind of questions a placeholder. Now, let me give you an example of how you have been doing some of these algebraic expressions or these algebraic sentences since you were in first grade, when you were first learning how to do math and things like that. So this may help you realize that it's not so hard. So let me give you one of these algebraic expressions without the variable. Blank plus 4 equals 5. This is algebra, basically. You just didn't know it. Now, what we're going to do with a variable is a variable is an unknown, which means this blank is unknown. We don't know what this is. So instead of having a blank from now on, you're going to have what we call a variable. And it represents that unknown in a different way than just a blank. And this will make more sense once we get down the road of algebra a little bit more. But we'll get to that soon enough. So instead of that blank, I'm going to put a letter. And variables most of the time are letters. A lot of times you'll see X. A lot of times you'll see Y, but it can be any letter. It could be A, B, C, whatever. You've got all of those choices in the alphabet to figure it out. So this is basically a variable. This is our unknown. It represents our unknown. Okay? So we're going to be working with those, and I'm going to show you some of these things here. And this is basically from this lesson today. You're going to be writing some of these using these keywords. Okay? So let's talk about those keywords. Now, if you look at this chart that I have here on the board, these are words or phrases that will identify what operation you're going to use in a problem. And you can use these beyond algebra. Okay? Any type of word problem, if you see these keywords, then you know, hey, I've got to do this within this problem when I'm setting up the problem itself on a piece of paper and trying to work it out. So let's look at them. If you're going to add, you've got sum, increased by, plus, or more than. See those? You're going to add. To subtract, you see the words difference, or minus, or decreased by, or less than. You're going to subtract, unless you're talking about comparing numbers where you're using the greater than, less than, equal to stuff. But in just a regular word problem, less than. If you're going to multiply, you're going to see words like product or times. And divide, quotient, and divided by. And you use those all the time. When you're describing how to set up a problem or things like that, you use them all the time. You just don't think about it. Okay? So this chart's going to be handy for you to know, okay, this is what they mean by this. So if I take some of these and I say some number is I'm getting all confused. Some number increased by 4. Okay? And I want to take this right here, this little phrase here, and I want to make it into an algebraic expression using a variable and knowing what operation I'm going to use. So I look at this. Some number is going to be our variable. Okay? X or Y or whatever. That's our variable. Okay, so if you see something that says some number, that means that's your variable. So you're going to use a letter of some kind. Okay, in this case, let's use Y. So I know some number, so Y, this is my variable, it's going to represent some number. Increased by 4. So I'm going to look at my chart, and I'm going to look up here and say, okay, where do I see increased by? I see it with addition. So I'm going to add something. What am I increasing it by? I'm increasing it by 4. And that's my answer. That's my algebraic expression from this. That's how I write it in a number sentence, basically, is some number, which equals my variable. Okay, so this part here is this. Increased by is my operation. In this case, is addition. And 4 is what I'm increasing it by. Okay? Let's try another one. All right. What if I say some number is divided by 19. Okay. All right. So I look at this, and I know some number. That's my variable. So I just need to pick a letter, unless they specify. Okay? Sometimes they'll say some number which is represented by Z, or some number that is Z. Sometimes they'll give you that. But if they don't give you, you get to pick. Yippee. So some number, so this time I'm going to say B. And divided by. Now this one's an easy because it's got what we're going to do in it. So divided by 19. Pretty easy, right? Okay. All right. Let's give you a harder one. Let's see. I'm going to look in the old math book, see if there's something that we can do. Okay. Let's do some number is more than 5. Okay. All right. So some number. So I know some number means something. So I'm going to put C in there. Okay. Now more than, that means I'm going to add. Now be very careful, because when they use more than, if I put that and then 5, if I look at this, I've got to go back and make sure that it makes sense. Some number, which is C, is more than 5. Is C going to be more than 5? No, because I'm adding 5 to it. So I've got to change my order a little bit, because this is basically saying C increased by 5, which is different. So if it's more than, that means 5 plus C. Okay? Because some number more than 5. Okay? So 5 plus C. Make sense? Hopefully that makes sense for you. Just be careful and make sure once you've done your problem, once you've written your algebraic expression, that it makes sense to you. If it does not make sense of what the sentence is saying, it's going to be wrong. So you have to kind of take a reality check, step back and look at it and be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Okay? All right? So if I say, and some number, times 7, another example, because we didn't do a multiplication one. Let's say Z times 7 is going to give me my answer. Okay? But if I say we'll deal with that later. Okay? Don't want to get too confused if that's a next lesson. So look at this chart. Make sure you understand it. And if you have any problems, any questions, do it in the comments down below, and I'll get back to you. Shoot me an email, or if you're one of my kiddos, come see me. You know where I'm at. You know how to find me. I won't hide from you. Okay, maybe I might, but I might consider it. But you know where I'm at. All right, hopefully that helps.